All right. Okay. Oh, let me just get click here to see the post on YouTube. Okay. That's all cool. I'm assuming this is all working well. Now then, I'm using Ecamm. I'm just trying to... Oh, what's going on here? Built-in microphone. No. There we go. Let's check. Ah, there we go. Better microphone. Okay, that's all set up, I think. I think that's all okay. Yep. Yep. That would mute it. That would unmute it. Yep. Okay. Awesome. What's that? Cool. I think we're all set. I should be doing more of these actually. I think I am certainly missing live audiences. So I think what I should do is get more into the habit of doing more lives. That should be the way around it. So let me get into this. I'm going to take you through this. This is kind of a mapped out presentation, and at the end of it, I'm basically going to share with you how my approach to clarifying what I want in terms of goals and the business goals in my life, developing a strategy and a plan for achieving them, and then of course as you take any kind of action towards it, then you're going to hit obstacles. That's just part of life. So it's like, how do you then deal with the obstacles, and more importantly, how do you turn the obstacles into stepping stones? So of course each obstacle, because I can tell you right now, the majority of people who don't get what they want let the obstacles define them in some way. Now I've probably got a slide about that somewhere in here, but ultimately what I'm showing you is my system that I developed because I needed one. I needed a way to keep me on track. I needed a way to make sure I could deal with the obstacles that were coming up for me so that I could blow through them, eliminate them, turn it into leverage in order to get to where I want it to be. So I'm going to share that with you. At the end of it, I will kind of go through an offer where I'll talk about my full system, which I'm giving you an insight into here. And then, of course, you can take me up on that if you wish and obviously start applying it in your own life, which is all cool. Otherwise, my goal is that the slides I've mapped out are going to give you a huge amount of value and insight anyway. So they're going to be valuable in their own right. So there's going to be a lot in there. So what I guess I need is, if you can see my slides, and I just need to bring up this so that it actually moves me forward. That's interesting. All right, so boom, boom. So this is my Rapid Achievement Masterclass. This is interesting actually, what I get. And obviously from your side, you're seeing the slide with me in the corner with the Ecamm Live thing on it because I'm still using the trial version. By the way, shout out to Ecamm. Really great company. I took a trial of it about 3 weeks ago, and they give you a 2-week trial. And I only really used it once. I didn't get a chance to use it because of various things that were going on. So I then dropped them an email and said I didn't really get a chance to explore it. So they just gave me another 2-week trial. Very nice of them. So I've already decided that once this trial expires or before then, I'm just going to upgrade and take the pro version, because I'm thinking this is the one I'm most comfortable with. I've tried so many different versions from the free stuff, what's it called? I forget what the free one's called, but there's a free one that allows you to stream live. I mean, I'm sure some people use it and use it successfully. I found it a little bit lacking in making my life easier, if that makes sense. So I've tried that. I tried StreamYard. I tried a few of them. StreamYard was very good. But I tried Ecamm based on a recommendation, and I've just found it really, really good. Like just intuitively good. And just smooth. So it's like, actually, probably features wise, maybe it's got less features than some of the others, but it's working well. Anyway, by the by, just a quick shout out to Ecamm. So thank you, Ecamm. So Rapid Achievement Masterclass, that's what it's all about. And ultimately, even in lockdown, this will allow you to achieve more in the next 90 days than most people do in a decade, which in some ways, without being disrespectful, is more a reflection of how I used to be and how I see a lot of people, where much doesn't really change in 90 days or even in a decade. So I want to show you how you break through of all of that. The big thing, and I would say start writing down some of these insights, is nothing happens by accident. That's the big thing. Like I was talking to a personal client last week, and I don't take many personal clients these days, but I had a personal client, and we were talking about just fun and how he wanted to have more fun in his life and how he felt he'd missed out on not having it. And I said to him, like anything, it doesn't happen by accident. When you've got a busy life and you're a parent, you got kids and you got a business and you're building your long-term financial future and you got all these projects going on, fun doesn't happen by accident. It's a myth. The idea that you want to be lounging on the beach, free to do whatever you want, will not give you what you want, ever. I've never met anyone who is fulfilled by that. So if you want to have fun, you've got to build fun in. So you've got to make it a goal in its own right. And of course, as soon as you do that, then you can obviously, it becomes a goal like all the other goals. So achieve more in the next 90 days. Most people do it in a decade. So things are not happening fast enough. So you've got a desire, you've got maybe some idea of what you ultimately want, but you're just not getting there. You're not getting traction, or you're getting some, but it's really slow and you want to speed things up a little bit. If you are not getting close to the income or the fulfillment that you want, but your to-do list keeps growing, because obviously if you go online, certainly now, more people online, therefore there's more noise online as well. So, you go online at the moment, there's 1,000,001 different ways of achieving various things, particularly related to making money online. And, it's a great thing. The internet is fantastic. It's a great place to be able to share great ideas, add value to people's lives, and get incredibly well paid for it. No doubt about it. But it's a business. So you've got to treat it as a business. And we'll get into this a little bit more as we go through this, because I want to kind of highlight my system in the context of building an online business so that you can see how it relates and how it connects and why you need it. But as we go through this, recognize that because you're building a business, the fundamentals of building a business remain the same. In the same way that, a business requires marketing. It doesn't have accident. Things have to be done and done consistently. And even within that, people get caught up in, should I be advertising on Facebook, or should I be advertising on YouTube, or should I be advertising? It's like, it doesn't matter what platform you use, as long as the people you want to reach are there, the fundamentals of marketing don't change. It's how you apply them. So a platform might have certain features which you can leverage strategically if you understand strategy, but that's really the only differentiator. And so once you understand marketing fundamentals, and once you've been inside any advertising platform online, they're all pretty much the same. So whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, Taboola, Outbreak, all of them, they all fundamentally follow the same. And what makes the difference isn't some feature like Facebook is particularly strong at retargeting. But just because it's particularly strong at retargeting, that doesn't mean it's going to make you more money than somewhere else, because it's the fundamentals of marketing that makes a difference. So if you're not getting closer to the income or fulfillment you want, your to-do list keeps growing. If you want to close the gap between what you might consider an ordinary life and an extraordinary life for you, if you just want more freedom, more income, more time off, just enjoy yourself a lot more so you can create an online business, or you want to create an online business that gives you those things, then this is absolutely for you. So I'm going to share with you my system. I'm going to share with you why I developed it, why I needed it. And, we're all human. We all follow similar traits. I've never met anyone who's been successful, particularly in the business arena, who doesn't have some form of system. Like I've never met anyone that wings it. Does that make sense? Somebody who just writes a to-do list on the back of a napkin and it all works out. I've not met anybody like that ever. So you do need more discipline, you do need more structure, and this is it. So this is for you. So my main goal in the short time we got together, which may be an hour and a half, 2 hours, depends how many tangents I go off on, but I want to give you value. I want to make sure you get something you can use, and more importantly, I want to change the way you think. So my main goal is provide the easiest way for anyone, regardless of experience, to transform their income, transform the fitness, if that's important to you, your friendships, your fun, your business in the next 90 days. So less time, less effort, less stress, more results, more of the things you want. A little bit about me. I put a few things down here. Because I started out with a very strong desire to share ideas, I realized quickly that to do that one person at a time would take far too long with the amount of lifetime I expect to have. So I became a speaker, which meant I could get on platforms, stages, and speak to thousands of people at a time and hopefully have an impact. And I've been doing that for well over 2 decades now. And I love it. Obviously, lockdowns kind of stopped that, so everything's gone virtual. But what it did mean was that I see patterns. I see people. It's like having your own laboratory where you're bringing in all these different people and you're just kind of like doing tests. So I've seen patterns, because human beings follow patterns of behavior. So I've seen, the people who have taken an idea and run with it and it's made a difference in their life. And I've seen the same people with the same idea not get the results they wanted. And it's like, what makes the difference? Because clearly there's more to it than just knowledge. Is knowledge enough? It's necessary, but it's not sufficient. My own life, what's been great about speaking to audiences is it puts a mirror up to me and it shows me where I'm falling down or where I need to change things to kind of live the best version of me and achieve the things I want to achieve. So without doubt, I've wasted years, no doubt about that. I have hit threshold, not in one sense, but as in one instance of it. It's something that's happened repeatedly, and obviously the combined effect, you finally get to that point where you go, boom, things have got to change. And one of the challenges you may face is being comfortable. Being comfortable can oftentimes put us in a place of complacency. It certainly did for me, which means you don't grow. You don't start hitting the bigger goals. You might set them, but you don't actually put in the effort for them. And I've done all of that. So I hit threshold. Things had to change. Sick of letting myself down. Sick of letting others down, particularly my family. And the question I wrote down in my journal was, how do I go from idea to progress to achieved in the real world? So this is real about, I recognized from that point onwards, I needed a system. Discipline is the most important characteristic in terms of getting things done. Discipline isn't something that necessarily comes to anybody naturally. It is a habit, and therefore because it's a habit, it's something you have to develop. So you develop it simply, easily. And because of my background in neurolinguistic programming, I'm big on modeling, which means find someone who's got the result I want and kind of get inside their head, understand how they do it. And that's really what I've done. So I've interviewed billionaires, Olympic athletes, to kind of get a sense and an idea of the beliefs that guide them, what the philosophy they live by, that allows them to consistently, drag themselves out of bed and train at a ridiculous level 6-7 days a week, 2-3 times a day, to stay focused on a particular nutrition diet and never deviate from it, to train hard with their teammates to make sure they can achieve a goal or put themselves in a position where the probability of achieving a goal is incredibly high. And out of that, it is a way of thinking. But to support that way of thinking and to keep you on track, you do need the plans and everything else in place. So we're going to cover all of that. All right, so because of all of this, I'm a third dan black belt in Shotokan Karate. That was a desire. That was my goal. I got disciplined. I got focused. I train daily. At this point, I'm in the best shape of my life. I've transformed my eating habits. I've stopped letting myself off the hook, if you like, a little bit with the whole kind of sugary foods and things. I do eat some sugar because I do like chocolate, but I'm in control of it now. It doesn't control me. And I've implemented and stuck to intermittent fasting. So through a week, I like variety. So that means that I will change the length of fast hours. So like I'll have a day in the week where I do 24 hours, I'll have a day in the week where I do 18 hours, I'll have a day in the week where I do 16 hours, and there'll be a day in the week where I don't fast at all. I just eat whenever I feel like it. So there's variety in that, but the overall impact is I get the benefits of intermittent fasting. And I've generated multiple millions in sales over the years. So my agenda then, in our small amount of time together, my goal is to make a big impact in the following ways. I want to give you confidence where there's been uncertainty. We all feel uncertainty at times, and it's learning how to handle uncertainty comfortably, and that's part of what this process does. Understanding where there's once confusion, I want to give you clarity, and ultimately to unlock within you the true potential you have. We all have great potential, but potential doesn't pay the bills, potential doesn't give you fulfillment. It's actually translating that into something real that's important. So to unlock within you the true potential you have to transform your finances, your income, your body, your relationships. And if nothing else, I'm here to help make you more money, so you can have more fun, more energy, more love, more tangible results in your life. That's really what it's all about. So what I need from you then? Implementation. Of course, nothing changes until you do something different, until you actually do something, take action. So if you listen here today and you do nothing different, what will change tomorrow? Nothing. Simple as that, really. So knowledge without progress is failure, in my opinion. And so I gather knowledge, I collect things, I collect ideas. Like in order to connect the dots, you've got to collect the dots. So I do collect lots of dots, lots of pieces of information. I connect them in unique ways, but unless you do something with them, they're useless. So to help you with that, thoughts become things. Everything starts with a thought. So think about what I show you today. See yourself doing what I show you. This is important. If you can see yourself doing it, you can build momentum to actually do it. Is that okay? So type in yes, hell yes, thank you, absolutely, or just give yourself a slap round the face and say yes. All right, so now you may be wondering whether you can or can't do what I'm going to share with you today. So I just want to kind of alleviate some of the thoughts that may be going through your mind that will be distractions. They'll get in the way. You know, one of the things about achieving a goal is to be able to stay focused on it without distraction. And things like worry and doubt and concerns, they're viruses, you know. In the same way we're going through dealing with COVID-19 as a virus, things like worry and doubt, they're viruses. They don't help you. They only help you if you leverage them. They're obstacles in some way, and it's learning to leverage those obstacles that matters. So you might be wondering whether you can do what I'm going to share with you. You might be wondering if you have the money to implement this, or if you have the time to implement this, or if you have the ability to do this. And like anything, it's a skill you can learn. So those are valid questions. What I think you really want to know though is, will this be different? So you might have been in the past, tried a number of different things, listened to a number of different people, bought a number of different products, and not got what you wanted from them. I know, we've all been there. So what you're really saying is, will this give me the solution you've been looking for all this time? I believe you will. And more importantly, one of the things I have done is learned how to teach. Because if I can make the complex simple and put it into steps, then of course you can take those steps and you can run with it, so that you don't get overwhelmed and kind of get in that sense of, like, one of the biggest challenges people is kind of getting in their own way. And what I mean by that is they start to think they're not able to do something. Like, the self-doubt is a big issue. So I want to break through all of that with you and for you. So I believe it will. I've broken this down to steps that anyone can use. So look out for those as we go through the presentation so that you stay active with it. The more active you are with it, the more it will lock itself in, the more it'll start to change the way you think. So does that make sense? I hope so. So on this webinar, how to turn your potential success into actual success, this masterclass. The essential skills rarely taught, which shatter the idea that success is luck. It's not. It's certainly a discipline. Without these, your success in business, relationships, health is random. With these, it is certain. As certain as a certain can be. You know, obviously there are things we can't control, like the weather, like a pandemic happening. We have no control over that. So outside of all those things, what we can control is ourselves and our response to things and our ability to leverage what is an innate human ability to adapt and to find solutions. And I want to show you how to do that. So success leaves clues. Not a recipe, clues. You make your recipe out of the clues. Does that make sense? So, do you think someone who's successful with money thinks differently to someone who isn't? The answer is yes, absolutely they do. Do you think someone who's successful with fitness and health thinks differently to someone who isn't? Again, absolutely they do. Everything begins in the mind. Do you think someone who is a high performer, so they make achievement a priority, thinks differently to someone who isn't? Again, absolutely. So you're willing to think differently. Because that's where it all starts. If you can think differently, you can do things differently. It'll change your behavior. And of course, it's got to change your behavior. You know, it's like, if it doesn't, then, you know, no new action, no new results. You just get the same old, same old. So my challenge is, I am a self-experimenter. I love researching, collecting ideas related to the things that I have a massive interest in. So I have spent a ridiculous number of hours researching, absorbing, organizing, putting into practice ideas around business, which includes online business, real estate, you know, generally money, understanding long-term investments, health, fitness, relationships, influence, psychology, all the things that have an impact on me, have allowed me to have an impact on other people at the highest level. So I've done all of that and still do. I've spent many more hours mentoring, strategizing with people, coaching people. And the question then is, how do I distill my knowledge, my 1,000 hours of knowledge and experience in a way that you can pick up easily, that you can immediately start to use to deliver tangible results for you. It's kind of like tangible, bankable, and if you're talking fitness, see in the mirror results. That's really what this is about. So here's how we do that. I create a framework. So this is the whole thing. It's like, if I can turn something into a framework, one, I have a framework for me, which I needed, and again, I can share the framework with you. Whereas if it's just all something I do intuitively, internally, then it works for me, but doesn't work for you. If I don't have any kind of framework, it doesn't work for me and it doesn't work for you. Simply, you need a framework. That's why, you know, recipe books exist. Somebody put down their idea so they could replicate it. And they put down their idea so they could share it with somebody else. Now, success in business isn't as black and white as step by step, ever. But it is framework driven. So, create a framework. So, what's your most important resource? Obviously, time. How you waste your time determines your quality of life, no doubt. And this I got from a billionaire friend of mine called Errol. All distractions are equal. I mean, it's such a simple statement, but it's so profound, it's so deep in terms of application. Anything which stops you getting to where you want to be is a distraction. Obstacles are distractions, but you're going to face them, you've got to deal with them. So all distractions are equal in that sense because they hold you back. So if everything was as simple as following a step-by-step blueprint, then probably rainbows and unicorns would also exist in that world. And it's not. You know, certainly for me, there's been many a, work through the night moment over the last couple of decades, which don't really help. Yes, there are times where you want to put in effort for a short period of time, like a short burst, a sprint as it's called, to kind of get things done because you've got to hit a deadline, you've got to build some momentum, no doubt. But I certainly don't believe in doing anything like that if it's putting your health at risk or in any way, and sleep's so important. I don't work through the night anymore because it's not necessary and isn't good long term. But if everything was as simple as following a step-by-step blueprint, then all the blueprints that you've ever bought, that I've ever bought, would work out the box. They don't. But I've fallen into that trap, and I kind of, because I've bought things and I couldn't get them to work, then of course the self-doubt starts to creep in because it's like, well, if it works for them, why isn't it working for me? Surely it should have worked for me. And when you've done that a couple of times like I have in the past, then you kind of start thinking, well, the only common denominator here is me. All these other people have done it, so they're obviously smarter than me, or something about me is getting in the way. I'm either not seeing it, I'm stupid, all these sort of things. And I've been through all of those. And ultimately, I just sort of started thinking, well, what's missing? So as I say, the first thought was, well, it's me. Then you kind of go to, well, it can't really just be me. And here's what I realized, because having access to thousands of people come to events, I started to realize that some of the things that I was struggling with, plenty of people struggle with. Other people have found solutions to. Other people have not had the same obstacles, the same challenges. But bottom line, no matter what you're trying to do, whether it's business, fitness, relationship related, in order to achieve a specific outcome, a specific result, you need clarity of what's needed. In other words, what do you have to do? What are the steps necessary? What needs to happen? What do you need to put together? And then once you've got that, then obviously you need to be clear on whatever's going to stop you. So if you're clear on exactly what's needed, so if we use the recipe analogy for a second, simply because it's an easy way to explain it. If you know exactly all the ingredients required, and you know exactly what you need to do with those ingredients, so you've got clarity around what's needed, clarity around the steps of how to mix, use, and the order in which you use them, then that's part one. Part two then is whatever gets in the way. So whatever limits you from implementing the recipe, whatever stops you getting hold of the ingredients, whatever prevents you from mixing the ingredients at the level required, all those things are obstacles. They get in the way. So if you understand what's needed and you understand what obstacles there are, and you take the obstacles away, what are you left with? The result you want, always. And that's always the two big fundamental areas. So you always need to be clear what you want, what are the steps, and then secondly, you need to know what are the obstacles that are going to get in your way so you can deal with them. So knowing what to do and doing it is fundamentally what this drives down to. So if you know what to do and you do it, you will get the result. Okay? So that's where we're starting from. Now, obstacles. Some obstacles are common. So things like lack of focus, lack of drive, self-doubt is a big one, shows itself up in many, many forms. Procrastination oftentimes is driven by self-doubt. If you don't know what to do, like if you sit there looking at something and go, well, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know how to use it. I don't know how to make progress. I don't know what I need to do. I don't even know where I begin. All those sort of things, similar challenges. Uncertainty in any way. So kind of looking at something and going, well, I know I need to advertise, but if I advertise, I'll lose money. If I spend this money on marketing. Like I saw a post this morning in a group that I follow on Facebook, and the group owner had posted, what do you hate about marketing? Personally, I don't hate anything about it. But some of the answers were interesting. And some of the answers were related to this idea of uncertainty, because I would say that was the most common thing. Like if you looked at what they said and you thought about why they would say that, it was because of uncertainty. So somebody posting, well, you got to spend money to find out if something works, and if it doesn't work, then you spent this money and you've got nothing in return. And it's like, yeah, that's uncertainty. And it's like, how do you eliminate that uncertainty? That's what I needed a framework for. And there is a way of eliminating it. Like the simple solution to eliminating uncertainty in terms of advertising spend is to use rules. So you set up criteria for how you know if the ad works, how you know if it's not working. So in the same way, like I've got a number of good friends who trade the stock market. When you place a trade, you put in a stop loss. So the stop loss doesn't mean you're not going to lose anything, but it stops you kind of losing big time. So it gets you out of the trade for a minimal amount of money. So you've taken action. If it didn't work, you're out of it and it's no big deal. You can live to trade again the next day. Same thing with advertising. You can put rules in place. So you can kind of put your stop losses in place. And that's the way to deal with the uncertainty in that example. But of course, that's one example of uncertainty. There can be many. Plus others, some are going to be unique to you because of your background, your experiences, your natural talents, your natural strengths, in terms of what you do have as a strength, what you don't have as a strength. So watch out for those. Because more importantly, it's like, how do you manage those? How do you leverage those? How do you deal with them? And again, this is where the framework comes in. So ultimately, how do you create clarity so you know what to do? And then how do you deal with the obstacles? Those are the two primary questions that I started asking and that you need to be thinking about. And ultimately, of course, eliminate the obstacles. Boom, in some way. All right, and that's why you need a rapid achievement system. So that's what this is about. This is where I started from. It was like, I need a system. I need a way of dealing with all of this so I can keep moving forward. Now, let's get into this. So there's three core areas of rapid achievement. Firstly, ambition, tapping into the drive, maintaining the drive, growing the drive. Secondly, where do you put your attention so that you don't get stuck in the I don't know or the uncertainty? So where do you place your focus so that you can remain focused without distraction? And thirdly, how do you then actually get on with it? Implement, execute, take action, and keep taking action. So there's an iterative aspect to this in the sense of you might hit a bump, so then you pause, deal with the bump, boom, then you move on again. So it's about making decisions faster and better. So, and those are the three core areas. Now, a couple of house rules. No magic wand nonsense. So you have got to be not afraid of any challenges, because obviously anything worthwhile is worth fighting for. Ultimately, your life, your goals, the things that you want to achieve. The magic wand idea, there's no get rich quick. There's no lose weight overnight and have six-pack abs if you spent your life, eating cake and donuts and everything else. So things like that don't exist in the real world, never do. And, last night I watched someone else's web class for a business model, and the business model was interesting. It was an e-commerce model. But the way they presented the web class, they were selling a program, nothing wrong with that. But the way they were presenting it made me suspicious in the sense of this was too plug and play easy. And just knowing the fundamentals of business, it's never going to be that plug and play easy. Doesn't mean it won't work. It can work, of course, but it's not going to be as rapid or as easy as they're suggesting it is. Does that not mean that they've had clients where things have gone very quickly and smoothly for them? Of course, there will be the odd client that happens to, and they tend to be the ones then they use as testimonials because, of course, that makes them look great. But that's not the norm. So that those are the outliers, if you like, more than the standard. So that's why most people are not successful, because they get caught up in this idea that it should be magic wand. So then when it isn't magic wand, they get disillusioned, they go looking for the next magic wand. So I'm here to tell you straight away, no magic wand. There is work involved. So you're open to new insights without getting offended. My goal is to help you win. Win being you live the life you want to live. That's a win. And my job then is results. So that's what I'm about, nothing else. Now, on the flip side of this, if you like the idea of playing at success, but you never invest in your success, I can't help you. This will never help you. If you don't invest in you, nothing's going to change. If you're closed-minded, like you already know everything, again, I can't help you. Because if you know everything and you're not getting what you want, you don't know everything. If you know everything in theory, or think you do, but you're not taking action with it, you don't really know it. Because what you read in a book and applying it in real life, in your life, is going to be different to me reading the same thing in a book and applying it in my real life. So until you apply it, you don't really know it. And if you're looking for the next shiny gimmick, not here, don't waste your time, go do something else. So let's get into this. Rapid achievement system then. So starts with vision, then we're into 90-day maps, and then we're into obviously maximizing your output, your performance on a day-by-day basis. Those are the three key areas. Put those in place. One, you'll eliminate a lot of obstacles, so they'll go away anyway, because the framework by design eliminates a lot of the challenges that you would face if you didn't have a framework. And then within the framework, obviously, we are committed to following it and doing the things that are going to give you the results you want. So vision is where it all starts. Now, vision is about your life. Vision provides fuel. So vision fuels your drive. Without a vision, you could end up creating a business that you don't want. Without a vision, you kind of can go rushing off in a half-hearted way and end up realizing, 5-10 years down the line that you're exhausted and you've been running in the wrong direction. That's not what you want. But if you start with a vision, you'll eliminate a lot of the obstacles that are caused by not having one. So, because if you have a vision, you can make better decisions. So, for example, vision guides decisions, which is what I'm saying. In other words, if we apply this to building an online business, how can you decide what business you want to build if you don't know what life you want? Because the business is a vehicle to give you the life you want. Does that make sense? So in other words, don't go running at something and go, I'm going to do e-commerce today because you can make so much money with it. Faulty thinking, in my opinion, that somehow making the money is going to give you the life you want. Money is a part of it. It's not all of it. Have you ever heard of people who've made a lot of money then burnt out? It's common, very common. Now, of course, you might look and go, well, what a problem to have. If I'm not making the money I want, and you're talking about people that have made a lot of money and then had a burnout, well, whoopee-doo. It's like, I get it. But nobody wants a burnout. You definitely don't. So ideally, if you know the life you want to create, you then create the business that's going to give you that life. You avoid dealing with things like health issues, burnout, mental health challenges that would create. Does that make sense? So vision guides your decisions, allows you to make better decisions. And I found this quote which kind of, I think, helps illustrate this. So often people are working hard at the wrong thing. Very common, and we've all done it. Working on the right thing is probably more important than working hard, undoubtedly. If you're working on the right thing and you're working on it, you're making progress, so you're going to get to where you want to be. If you're working on the wrong thing, it doesn't matter how hard you're working at it, because you're never going to get to where you want to be, because it's the wrong thing. That's from Katrina Fake, unfortunate surname. She's an entrepreneur. She started Flickr. So vision. If you want to transform your destiny, you need to define your destination. So this takes time, this takes thought, this takes thinking about it. And this will iterate in its own right. You'll add to it, it will evolve, but you want to start with something which excites you. So what is a vision? How do you want your life to be? Not just one aspect of it, all of it. Like right now, you might not be making the income you want, and you want to make more. I get that. Or you might be making a really good income, but you have no time to yourself. Or you're making a good income, but you're working for someone else, so you have very little time available to yourself, and decisions are made for you, so you don't have a feeling of independence, of freedom, of autonomy. And you want the autonomy, you want the freedom, you want to be able to do the things that you love when you want to do them. So how do you want your life to be? Not just one aspect, all of it. And I would say think about it long term as well. How do you want to be when you're in your 60s, your 70s, your 80s, health-wise? When you look in the mirror, how do you want, if you go for a checkup in your 60s, 70s, 80s, what kind of results do you want to come back with? All of these things matter. And on a more immediate level, how do you want to wake up? Do you want to wake up with a clear image in your mind of where you're going? Excited, joyous anticipation. It's like that going to bed excited, can't wait to get over the sleep part so you can get back on with doing the things that you're loving. Having direction in your life. And understanding, because vision will help you define your priorities. If you have a clear vision, it's easy to decide what's most important, what's next important, and so on. And that will also help you make decisions, because you can't make a decision in a vacuum. You have to be able to make a decision relative to something which is important to you, to the end result. So knowing what you stand for, so you wake up knowing what you stand for, knowing what your priorities are, knowing what direction you're going in, excited about that, because you've got clarity now. In terms of, okay, how am I going to make the vision a reality? That's what we're getting into. That might be where having a business vehicle is important. But knowing where you want to get to, so that guides you. So if you said to me, well, you could build an e-commerce business, but you need to go get a warehouse and fill it full of product, and you need to, be looking out for new products all the time and new trends and jumping all over them and making sure you get in there before anybody else ever gets in there. That's not a business model I ever want to run. That's not a business I ever want to run, because that is a huge amount of effort, time, and stress, which sounds like it would eat up my brain 24 hours a day. That's not a life. Does that make sense? So it might make a lot of money for some people, but it's not a lifestyle I want. So it's not the business I want. So how do you want to wake up? Real purpose, real fuel, real drive. For me, knowing I'm making a difference, knowing I'm impacting people's lives, that gives me drive. So you can't neglect your way to success. What happens if you neglect an area of your life? Rich and sick, not much point. Rich and divorced, unhappy. Great body and soul, nobody to share it with, again, unhappy. So you can't neglect your way. You've got to take care of all of it. So my belief is neglect nothing. Write that down, tattoo it on your forehead so you see it in the mirror every morning. Neglect nothing. You can't separate you. You're always there. Wherever you go, you're always there. So that's not life balance. If you neglect things, it's all about life integration. So I'm not into this concept of balance of work a little, rest a little. Yeah, that's fine, but actually that's not how I look at it. I look at it as integration. If I've got integration, they're all important things. Everything I do is important to me, so it's integration. The integration creates success, it creates fulfillment. So you're at the center of your empire. Ultimately, you're in control of it. You get to decide what you're going to do with it. So it's holistic. Each area feeds off each other, no doubt. Being in great shape, eating well, massively impacts my productivity. Making sure, because my health's a priority, that I sleep well, so not just the amount of sleep, but the quality of sleep, also improves my productivity, my thinking ability, my ability to solve problems, my ability to deal with obstacles, my ability to think up frameworks like this that help me and other people. So it's all mind, money, heart, body, all of it matters. Relationships, paying attention to relationships, having the joy of that, sharing the wins with people, having somebody to lean on when there are lows, all of that is important. So what bases do you need to cover? I've put all these in to start with the same letter, so it makes it easy to remember. You might want to write it down or take a screenshot. Fitness, finance, which includes business and long-term wealth. Family, friends, make sure you've got some. Fun, as I said before, none of these happen by accident. And future self. So those are the bases that I cover, that my framework covers, that I pay attention to on a regular basis. What do I mean by future self? Who do you need to become? See, I said right at the beginning that, people who are good with fitness think differently to people who don't. People who are good with money think differently to people who are not. And really, it's becoming the kind of person for whom the vision you define for yourself is going to be achieved. So think about who you need to become, which means define who you need to be. Because if the idea that the journey is more important than the destination because you get the growth on the journey, you get the growth by dealing with the obstacles, and therefore you become a different person. Matthew McConaughey, the actor, in his Oscar speech, which you can find on YouTube, go take a look at it. It's a great little clip. And he talked, when he accepted his Oscar, he talked about how, a friend of his had asked him who his hero is. And he'd gone away to think about it, and when he'd come back, he'd said to his friend his hero is him 10 years from today. So he had a vision in his mind of himself 10 years from now, and obviously that vision of him 10 years from now was different to who he is today. It's a better version of him. So define your identity, and obviously if he's got an idea of who he needs to become and he's moving towards that, then of course the goals, the money, the fame, and everything else comes with it automatically because he's become the kind of person who can manage that, who can make that happen. Does that make sense? Like if you have read David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me, or listened to him on a podcast, listened to him on an interview, and his story, he literally is talking about rebuilding himself, like creating a new identity and becoming that person. And that's what future self is. It's like, who do you need to be for whom handling an online business, a property portfolio, making an impact, speaking around the world, coming up with new ideas, developing products, who do you need to be to do all of that and do it successfully? Yeah, so that's how my future self began, and obviously I continue to have that. So 10 years from now, I'm a very different person to who I am now, a better person than who I am today. So define your identity, high achiever or settle for ordinary, and I go through this in much more detail in the program. So you can go into detail and actually do the work, but I want to give you a sense of it. And more importantly, what standards are you going to hold yourself to? Standards are the things that determine, like for example, I have a standard around my waist size. So if my waist size ever gets beyond that, something's got to change immediately. So now if you do it often enough, it becomes habitual, it becomes something you just do without thinking about it. But in the beginning, the standards are conscious, they're clearly defined, and you literally stand by them. That's why they're standards. So what are you going to hold yourself to? And if you live by those standards today, you will become the person you need to become. Because ultimately this is all about behavior change, which is what I've been talking about. Your future self helps you change your behavior. You cannot keep doing what you're doing and hope to get a different result. That's never going to work. You need to become a better version of you. And within that, you can have more fun as well. I think this sometimes gets people think that in order to, if they're going to have to work hard, it's going to be a slog and it's going to be drudgery and it's going to be horrible. No, you can have fun doing all of those things. But your behavior does need to shift to do the things that will give you the goals that you want to achieve. So, future self helps you drive your behavior. So, a quick example, quick story. In my 20s, early 20s, when I first left university, I came to work in London. And one of the reasons for going to London was I wanted to train at one of the top karate dojos in the world. And that's what I did. It's in Marshall Street in London, just off Carnaby Street, parallel to Carnaby Street. And I used to train there every night, 5 days a week, and I used to train on my own on a Saturday, so 6 days a week training. And it was a brilliant dojo, really made me. But as part of that, I then got invited to Japan. I got the opportunity to go over there. And so we went over to Japan, trained with this gentleman you see in this picture, is Mikio Yahara Sensei. And he was teaching a number of universities in Japan. And he did what's called a gishaku. It's like a summer camp, if you like. So 6 hours a day of training. Absolutely incredible. But one of the things that happened on that first trip to Japan, was one, we trained at an intense level, 6 hours a day, extraordinary. Trained with the university students who were just completely gung-ho, extraordinary. But also, all of these karate instructors are so good because the Japan Karate Association, has a full-time instructors program, which they all go through. And it's run behind closed doors. So it was originally a 3-year program. People come in, it's full-time, they're training X number of hours a day, every day, 5-6 days a week. And by the end of it, because of the the quality of the technical teaching and the attitude of everybody in that room, which is very high, it's a hornet's nest. The quality of the instructors that came out of it was just phenomenal. And then they went around the world spreading karate and teaching karate. So my instructor back in London at the dojo I was at, he'd come out of that program. He was one of the early people out of the full-time program. An extraordinary karate man. Brilliant teacher. But as I said, it's a invite-only program. So you can't just turn up and say, I want to train with the instructors, because you can't. It's by invite only. And the instructor's training is done behind closed doors. So nobody gets to see it. But on this trip to Japan, Yahara Sensei managed to get us the opportunity to sit and watch the class, because he was in the class, he was training in it as one of the instructors. And so we sat and watched. I mean, it was phenomenal. It was at a level, like if we're training, if most people train at this level, and our dojo trains at this level, the instructor's class was another couple of levels above that. It was just extraordinary to watch it. But one of the people, the person taking the class, like the senior instructor, was in their 80s. And their speed, power, agility was just extraordinary. And I was in my early 20s, recently got my black belt, thought I was something special, like young, fit, strong, black belt in karate, look at me. And I thought it was something. This guy left me in the dust on every single level. Power, speed, agility, ability, technical ability. Just extraordinary. But what was important was I looked at him and went, I want to be like that when I'm 80. And that really kind of became an imprint on my brain and became a vision. So it was a vision of how I wanted to be health-wise and agility-wise and so on. And that stuck with me. And that has massively influenced my decisions around what I eat, how I train, how often I train, the consistency of my training. 30 years later, I'm still training 4 or 5 days a week. I'm obviously, I adjust my food to reflect where I want to be health-wise. I get checkups, all these kind of things, because when I'm in my 80s, I want to be able to move like that, have that agility, that speed, that energy, that sort of passion for life. So that's a vision. That's the power of a vision in itself. And that was just one aspect of my life. So that's my kind of story. So the other side of this, of course, is I've already touched on this. Your vision will drive your business model. Just because a business has the potential to make a lot of money doesn't mean you should necessarily do it, or do it in a way which everybody else is doing it. Design a different business model. Do it differently would always be my advice. So you could make $250,000 a year working 80 hours a week, or you could make $250,000 a year working 20 hours a week. Which would you prefer? Which is best for your health? Which is going to give you the actual time freedom to enjoy the money? Which is going to allow you to share time with your children, with your family, with your significant other, your spouse? Yeah, it makes sense when you see it this way, but until you have a clear vision, it's not easy to define which business you should be building and which way you should be building it. In other words, the model. All right, so think about that. So many people have heard of it, very few have written it. Most people I speak to, vision, they go, oh yeah, I've heard of that, but very few actually have one. They've never really taken the time to write it. So a couple of quick questions then. Do you get to decide what's in your vision? Of course you do. You get to decide. You get to control how much time freedom you want. I'm not saying what you've got right now, but you get to define how much you can build in. Of course you can. You can say, I want a business where I'm working 10, 15, 20 hours a week and that's it. Not a problem. You decide how inspiring your vision is, how exciting it can be. Absolutely. And you decide the lifestyle, because this is the whole point of the vision. The vision incorporates your lifestyle. You decide the lifestyle that your business will pay for. Of course you do. So that's the first part. Second part, let's dive into this. We now need to translate the vision into a map. So why a map? A map because it's not fixed in stone. You define what you think are the steps, then you move forward, and of course you're going to hit obstacles. You've got to deal with the obstacles. So your map has to adapt. Like a map, you know where you want to go, but let's say, if you're in your car and you've plugged into your sat nav, here's where I want to go. So there's the destination, and you set off, but there's been an accident on the road, or the bridge has fallen. It's like you got to find another route around. So it's a map. So it's not fixed, because you need that adaptability built in. You need that flexibility built into your approach. Okay, so you need a map, because nothing moves in a straight line. Nothing in nature moves in a straight line. So recognize that. It'd be nice to think, from here to there, it's a straight line, off we go. Shortest distance, fastest approach, never works that way because of obstacles. Sometimes you got to go around with them, sometimes you leverage them, but nothing moves in a straight line. You can't hold it all in your head. You will go crazy. You will forget things. Your head will explode. So you've got to have it written down. And writing it down, one, it gets out of your brain, so your brain has more freedom to think again. And secondly, of course, when you can see it on paper, you can show it to somebody, you can come up with better ways of doing things. So why 90 days? It's long enough to solidify a new habit. That's the big thing. So if you do this for 90 days, it ingrains it. It becomes a part of who you are. It shifts your identity. You start becoming your future self. It's long enough to make a significant dent in achieving your vision. So 90 days, like you said, in a day, things are not going to change in a day. Like it'll change on a tiny, tiny level, but you won't see the result of it. You know, like you start a weight loss plan, day one, how much have you lost? Very little. Will you see a difference in the mirror? Unlikely. Has something changed though? Yes, internally, yes. Things are starting to readjust and your body's starting to make changes, but you won't see it straight away. Whereas 90 days, you could have six-pack abs. You know, so and in a business, 90 days, you could have a significant income. Turn around any aspect of your life and see tangible results. That's the whole sense of it. And the other thing for me is because it's short, it's exciting. And because it's short, 90 days, it creates a sense of urgency. So it gives you a deadline. That in its own right is important, which helps build your focus muscles because you've got to stay focused on it to hit it in the 90 days. And I say it builds momentum. You do something in 90 days, you've now got the momentum for the next 90 days. I mean, there's, the idea of the 90-day year. So for where most people take a year to do something, you can do it in 90 days. Well, from my experience, most people don't get to where they want to be in a year, 2 years, 5 years. They might get some semblance, but they keep kind of spinning their wheels or getting lost in the wrong place. So actually, build momentum in 90 days would be a massive difference. And it's short enough to create excitement, which I've already talked about. So let's break this down then. 3 key areas to developing your 90-day map. Firstly, define your goals. Like we need a destination. We got a vision. Now we need to break that down. So from vision to 90-day goals. Like your vision might be a 10-year vision. So it's not going to happen straight away, but we can make a dent in achieving that in 90 days. So from vision to 90-day goals. So what is a goal? Well, it's a precise result that you want to achieve in the next 90 days. And the key word there is precise. So you want to have real clarity. Fuzzy goals don't work. Unclear goals don't work. You've got to be clear. Oftentimes people don't want to put a defined goal because they don't want to be disappointed when they don't achieve it. That's the way to never get anywhere. And the fact that you think you'll be disappointed, that's an obstacle. Maybe it's something you feel and that's unique to you, but it's a common one as well as it happens. So make sure you recognize is you're focused on the goal, not on whether you will or won't achieve it. That's the important part. So it's a precise result. So if the vision's a decent car or your dream car, the goal might be $500 a month to pay for the lease. If your vision is a particular home, then the goal might be $3,000 a month to pay for the mortgage and the utility bills. So the goal then focuses your mind on the result you want. That's why it's important and you need to write them down. And the clarity in itself creates confidence. My experience is always that clarity creates confidence because lack of clarity causes uncertainty because you don't know what to do, where to go, or what you should be focused on. Whereas the immediate step of saying, okay, and this is something you have complete control over. This doesn't require you having to worry about what's going on around you because you get to control this. Sit down with a notebook and a pen and start writing goals. Clarity creates confidence. So clarity then. What do you want is what you're looking for an answer to. What I have noticed is that's often not always straightforward to answer. So it takes some thought. As a question, it's actually too vague, even though it's very common. And obviously the flip side is you can't focus if you don't have a target, if you don't have a goal. And from my point of view, if you can't picture it, and again, this is something I got from NLP originally, but if you can't picture it, you can't describe it, you don't have clarity. Because you want to have a clear image, a clear idea of what it is you're ultimately wanting to achieve in this 90 days. So fuzzy doesn't work, as I've said. So this question will help you much better. If you and I, write this down, if you and I were having this conversation 90 days from now, what has to have happened for you to be happy with the results? Great question. I collect questions, by the way. So, I find questions that I like, I write them down. I put them I keep them on my note system, like Evernote type thing. But I keep them so that I can refer to them or adjust them or use them as an idea to trigger another question. Because, the idea of, if you want a better answer, ask a better question. Well, so therefore collect them. So if you're having this conversation 90 days from now, you and I were sat down and I said, okay, what has happened? So imagine going out 90 days from today, looking back over that time and go, okay, if this has happened in 90 days, I'm really happy. So think of it in terms of the different areas of your life. So what I would suggest is right now, let's build some momentum. The way you build momentum is you take action. If you physically do something, it starts changing things in your nervous system, you make new connections. between your nervous system and your brain, things start to move. This is what we want. Build the momentum, then you can reinforce it to keep it going. So write down 3 goals you want in the next 90 days. What do you want next 90 days? What do you want in income? What do you want to make in the next 90 days? 5,000, 10,000, 100,000, what's the figure? Just write down something. If you are looking to get in shape, what kind of waist size do you want to aim for? Where would you like your waist to be in the next 90 days? And then relationship-wise, think of it in terms of tangibles. How many date nights, how great do you want date nights to be? So how many do you want to have over the next 90 days? Is it a monthly thing, a weekly thing, a fortnightly thing? Just write those down. Okay, got something? It's important you write it down because it helps you build momentum. So write something down. Now, let's lock it in. So are you in control of the goals you set? Absolutely. Of course you are. That's one thing you're totally in control of. Could you write down goals which excite you? Absolutely. And you should. Again, you're totally in control of that. And here's the other thing. As I've demonstrated in the slides, if you want to make income goals more tangible, like writing down a figure, let's say you want to make $30,000 in the next 90 days. The figure itself may not be exciting because it's just a number. Money by itself, collecting pictures of presidents or queens or monarchs, not necessarily that exciting. But if you want to make the income goal more tangible, tie it directly to something you want in your lifestyle. So something that's relevant to your vision, to your lifestyle, like a car, like a house, like a Peloton bike, for example. Something tangible like that, which you want. Because I find, obviously, that's a lot easier to picture than just picturing $30,000 stacked up. What does that really mean? Or I know for some people, they'll kind of create like a little mini bank statement and put the balance on it of $30,000, and that's worked for them. They're happy with that. For me, I don't personally get a feeling from that. I don't get that excitement from it. So I tend to tie number goals to things, and I have to, because obviously in the business you've got to make a profit. But I'm not massively profit driven because it's just a number. But I recognize the need to be because it's a business, so I have to tie them to other things to make them tangible. Does that make sense? That's a top tip from me. So goals then, secondly, engage your emotions. Human beings are emotional creatures. We're not logical. We're not robots. So in order to make anything happen, to tap into that drive, which your vision is going to help you with, the vision will fuel your drive, but you want to keep that going on a consistent level. Then there are a couple of other things that I do which I've found make a difference and allow me to tap back into it even when I'm not feeling it. Does that make sense? So, the idea of you got to show up and be consistent in your business, for example. You've got to show up and be consistent in your fitness routine and your eating routine. You're not always going to feel it. It's very easy to kind of, look at a pizza and go, actually, I'd really rather have that today and sod it, I'm going to have it. It's like, no. There are times when you can have that, but it's like recognize, okay, if I eat it, stop. If I eat it, how am I going to feel? I'm going to feel disappointed in myself. I'm going to feel like I've let myself down. I'm going to feel unhappy. So it's like, right, those are emotions. Those are consequential emotions. So emotions can drive action or inaction. So if where you are isn't where you want to be, then you can use the feelings to be overwhelmed and stuck. You can use them to then just vent your anger on the world through posts where you complain about everything. And if you need to do that to get it out, great, do that. I'm all for sharing things if it helps you mentally. But if you stay there, that's not going to help you. So you can use feelings to be overwhelmed and you're stuck, or you can use those same feelings to create drive. Like I just said, as a consequence. Or you can take overwhelm and go, you know what, I'm sick of being overwhelmed. So that starts to turn overwhelm into drive. You can use it to create drive to move the needle forward to your goal. You get to decide. Again, you're in control of this because of your emotions. Which do you want it to be? So, thing to be aware of is, as human beings, we are wired to resist change on one level because we have our oldest part of the brain is survival focused. It's all about keeping you alive. So obviously if you're alive and everything's okay, then your older part of your brain's like, well, don't make a change because we've got certainty. We're alive. If you rock the boat, you create uncertainty. That might put your survival at risk. And although we live in a society where chances are your very life isn't at risk for the most part, that doesn't mean that the older part of the brain knows that. It's still operating by very old rules. So we're wired to resist change, which means ultimately you're wired to block your goals. Because a goal by definition is a change. It's something you don't have. And as I've been told before, everything relies on a behavior change. You can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. So that means change, which ultimately means transformation. So there's a level of our brain which is wired to resist that, and you've got to overcome that. Because if you allow it to take control, then it will talk you out of it. So procrastination kills goals. So you need strong reasons to overcome that, to overcome our hard wiring. Most people give lip service to the whys, like they give lip service to their vision, which is why they don't achieve the level they want, because they haven't learned to direct their emotions in a way they can leverage. So you got to go deep. So it requires deep thought. So you got to think. So start here. So there's a couple of things I cover in the program on another level, but certainly start here. Pick a goal and go, why is the goal important to you? So that will give you a starting point. Now, if you turn your emotions into rocket fuel, what impact would that have on achieving your goals? So whatever your first thoughts are, write them down. Write down that question so you can reflect on it again. And let's keep going. So quick check-in, true or false? Emotions come first, answers come second. Always. Key to live by. Like we're emotional creatures, emotions first. Make sure your vision excites you, emotions first. Answers second, because once you've got the drive, now we're finding answers. So your emotions can paralyze you or your emotions can drive you. Of course, you again are in control. That's not to say there are not going to be days when you don't feel upset, down, concerned, worried. I'm not saying you're trying to stop any of those emotions. Those emotions are valid, and I recognize that those emotions are just signals these days. So in other words, I don't dwell on them. I allow them to help me realize there's an obstacle I need to deal with. Does that make sense? So I use them as indicators, but I don't allow them to stop me. So you get to choose which. So engage emotion, then third part, strategy. This is where the map, the plan, if you like, comes in. So strategy answers the question, how will you close the gap? From where you are to where you want to be. Now, it's not going to happen with myths, fairies, or magic, although there are plenty of people that would like to tell you that, because, of course, it's from building an online business point of view, it's very easy to offer someone who doesn't know some sort of magic bullet and convince them that it works. And when somebody is convinced that a magic bullet works and they buy the magic bullet, then the person selling the bullet is happy, but the person buying the magic bullet isn't going to be. So don't buy into that. Myths, fairies, and magic aren't going to give you the results you want. What do most people do? They either guess, nothing wrong with initial guess, as long as it's an educated guess. They then create a to-do list, or they just throw down a whole bunch of stuff on a to-do list, which has no real connection to the goal they want to achieve. So like, if you wanted to buy a great house, or you want your business to be able to pay you, $3,000 a month, but their to-do list has no relationship to any of that, not directly. So in their head, they're going, well, to get that, I need to do this, this, and this. But they don't actually know if doing any of that will give them the result. That makes sense. So they have a to-do list, which they might go on and do, and then we'll kind of go like, well, I've done that, but I didn't get the result. Why? I don't understand. So there's not always a connection between what's on their to-do list and the goal they want to achieve. It's just what they think is right. And of course, can you tick everything off on a to-do list and still make no progress on your goals? Of course you can, because you've got the wrong to-do list. So we're back to this, someone else's blueprint. Could two people have the same steps, the same exact blueprint, and get very different results? Of course they could. Why? Because a blueprint is a starting point. The person who gave you the blueprint or who you bought the blueprint from, they're not you. In other words, they've got different experiences, different strengths, different talents, which means they're going to face different obstacles to you. And it's therefore they're going to have to deal with different obstacles. So if they've got a blueprint which helped them deal with the obstacles they faced, but they're not the same obstacles that you're going to face, or some of them are, but there's going to be others which are unique to you, which they didn't face, their blueprint is not going to be the absolute answer. It will be useful to a certain degree if you know how to make it useful, but it will not be complete. Does that make sense? Which is why I needed a framework. This framework really gave me the ability to take a blueprint and customize it to make it work for me. It's literally a model for creating blueprints. It's a model for collecting ideas, like I like to collect ideas, but how I connect them is down to using this framework to help me connect them that plays to my strengths. So you take this framework and you allow you to connect the dots so it plays to your strengths. It would help you find your strengths. That makes sense. Different obstacles. In business, there is no difference in just copying. You can't just copy exactly what someone else is doing. You won't get the same result. And the more people copy the same thing, like at the moment, there's a lot of challenges going on online. Come and do my 5-day challenge, my 7-day challenge, my 30-day challenge. A lot of challenges. But challenges can work. But again, when everybody's doing challenges, it saturates the market and now people switch off. So the same prospects go, oh, not another challenge, because they want something different. They want something unique. So there's no difference in just copying. You've got to have a twist on it. You've got to be unique in some way. So where do you start then? Well, certainly start with mapping out the steps. So this is best guess in the beginning, because it's best guess based on where you're at, based on your knowledge level at the moment, based on your experiences so far. It's your best guess. So it's a place to start. And just see it as a place to start, not as in, oh, I've got to write down these steps, and if they're not perfect, it's never going to happen. It's like, no, write down the steps. This is your starting point. That's all it is. It's going to change. Your map is going to adapt. Do a logic test on it. Like if I follow step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, am I likely to get the result? So that's the first quick test you can do. So as soon as you take action, though, as soon as you start moving on that first step, you will face obstacles. No doubt about it. They are part of life. You know, there's that brilliant quote from Tony Robbins that he said, your biggest problem is thinking you shouldn't have any. Of course you can have problems. That is part of life. Always will be. So first of all, relax. Just take a breath and say, I'm going to face problems. Okay. Just accept it. Once you accept it, now you can start to deal with it. So how do you deal with obstacles will ultimately define you. If you let them get in the way long term, you never get to where you want to be. You never get the fulfillment, you never get the results, you never get the life you want. You never get the business you want. But if you recognize them for what they are, like I look at them now as gifts, which is just another way, in the sense of I can learn from this, I can leverage this, I can use this obstacle to create more drive. I can use this obstacle to help me find a solution I wouldn't have thought of otherwise. I can use this obstacle to develop a strategy that's never been seen before. How you deal with obstacles will define you. So thought we talked about before, like a focus, like a drive, self-doubt, big one, and will show itself in many forms. And yes, it diminishes, but I've noticed that, you know, especially when it comes to money, the more you make, again, it doesn't diminish completely. Then it's like a next round of, well, I made that, that's okay, can I make that, you know, and so on. So, and again, you may not deal with it in the same way I've dealt with it, you probably won't, as in you won't experience it in the same way I experienced doubts. But you will experience them on some level. Not knowing what to do, uncertainty, stuck, lost. Go through that on a fairly regular basis at times. Just uncertainties we talked about, plus others. But how you deal with them will determine whether you get where you want to be. So first of all, recognize this. Obstacles are the stepping stones to success. I should have changed the animation on this so that they all pop out at once. That would have been better, wouldn't it? Okay, so that's the kind of thing. It's like recognize, like we can leverage the obstacles. That's how I approach it these days. So my whole framework and the kind of way I take an obstacle and look for a solution is based around this concept that it's a stepping stone. If I can leverage it, brilliant. If I can come up with a strategy that means that it never even arises again, brilliant. But I recognize them as what they are. So the real skill then is to outthink your obstacles. Problem, thinking, solution. So the better you get at thinking, the better you get at outthinking obstacles, the more successful you will be as an entrepreneur, the more successful you'll be in relationships, the more successful you'll be at maintaining a level of health and fitness, the more successful you'll be at life. And the more fun you'll have, and the more happier you'll be, fulfilled you'll be. So really that's what it comes down to. It's like, I guess on one level, you could sum it all up and say your ability to think will determine your success. And that's not an uncommon idea. If you have read the classic book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, it was all in the title, Think and Grow Rich. Not always a message that many people want to hear. They don't want to hear think and grow. They want to hear plug and play and grow rich. It doesn't work. So ways to start approaching it so you've got somewhere to start with. Even if you decide not to take up the whole program, then at least you can get started with this. What are the obstacles between you and your goals? One question to ask. What could stop you? Another great question to ask. So break it down. So I'll give you a couple of examples here. Like you might be saying, I don't have huge funds to launch my business. Okay, that's an obstacle, but it's not going to stop you because there are ways around that. I don't have a large team to delegate everything to. Again, there are ways around that. I don't have a huge email list. Again, you don't need it. That's strategy dependent. Or I flipped it a second, give you a different context or a different example. Every attempt to lose weight so far has failed. Fine. Why? What's the real obstacle underneath that? That's what we need to find and deal with. And that's the other side of it as well. So, you know, sometimes when you're dealing with an obstacle, the obstacle itself isn't the real obstacle. They're just the symptoms. So things you can do is turn your obstacles into objectives. So if you say, I haven't got the money, then the objective is to have the money. So it becomes a mini goal in its own right. Mapping out the steps by putting it on paper allows you to look at it so you can test the validity of it. So you can do a simple logic test. But it also allows you to go, well, actually, do I really need to take all those steps? Could I take that step out and still get the results? So now it'll help you find shortcuts potentially and improve your map. Oh, microphone's slipping down. And it allows you to see, of course, where you need help. So if you go, actually, I don't really know how I get from that step to that step, then I need help. So you either go research the help or talk to someone who's done it before, or, use the steps in my process to help you fill in that gap. If you don't know the steps, simple solutions, find someone who does, model them, so uncover the fundamentals. This is where mentoring can really help, and where I've used mentors in the past when I've needed them. And what I will do in the major module around the planning aspect and the creating the map, I'll show you a process, a thinking process, which solves all of this. So ultimately, strategy plus outthinking your obstacles will allow you to get to where you want to be. So right strategy, better strategy, unique strategy, plus that ability to deal with the obstacles as they arise, because they will arise, will get you to where you want to be. So if you're going to build an online business, I thought I'd give you a little bit of a heads up and a starting place just to kind of help fill in some of the knowledge gaps. What does your 90-day map need to include? You need to define what your course topic is going to be, what problem it solves. You need to know who it's for, so who will be the audience for this course. You need to have a good understanding of marketing. That's where you really get clear what your big difference is. In other words, what makes you unique in a way that is of value to your prospects so that you stand out. Advertising, you're going to understand advertising, how to advertise it, what has the biggest impact on your advertising costs in terms of online platforms. Then obviously some appreciation, understanding of what you need from a technology point of view to deliver the course. There's all sorts of platforms that will do this for you. Plus there's other things, like I use Thrive Themes, the whole series of plugins they provide to deliver all my stuff. And, hosting videos, I host videos on Vimeo for the most part. So then within your 90-day map, what steps do you need to take? So you need to put them in the right order, and then obviously in what order they need to be taken. So that's kind of give you an insight. Just screenshot that as a starting point so that at least you've got a starting point for developing an online course business. But the real question you want to be thinking about is, are you ready to deal with any challenges, willing to find solutions to any problems that you may face, and you will face them. Let's be open about this. You will face problems. That's the point. It's not that you won't, it's how you deal with them that will define you, as I've said, to make your goals a reality. Now, if the simple answer to that is yes, then that's the kind of attitude that's going to help you. So, final piece then, how do you maximize your output? You've got a vision, you've got a map, now you've got to do it. So does having the steps automatically mean that you'll make daily progress on your goals? No, of course not. So how do you make sure you do? Well, take a deep breath, shake it all out, shake your body about a little bit, re-energize your body, take some water if necessary. I've got a little bit of coffee, so it's a nootropic. Really, it is. It's medical. Caffeine's a nootropic. So how do you stay focused? How do you take consistent action so that you move the needle? If you're making progress, if you're moving the needle, you will get there. How do you avoid swimming in disappointments so that you could turn disappointment into, it's an obstacle, so you can turn it into a stepping stone. So you do that by maximizing your output. So again, 3 keys to this. Firstly, routines. If we have to think about everything from scratch every single day, things won't get done. You'll waste a lot of energy thinking, whereas routines allow you to just do things which you know you need to do daily, consistently, and they just allow you to do it without having to think. So the whole point of this is where you focus on performance, not the outcome. So the goal is the outcome, in the sense of, you might have planted the seed, and then of course you do the things that allow the seed to grow. You don't go digging up the seed going, I'm looking at the outcome again. So we're not focused on the outcome, we're focused on what you actually need to do, the action. So it's performance now. This is where you eradicate old unhelpful habits. So if you've always procrastinated in the past, you've always felt disappointed, or you've always kind of kidded yourself that you get tired at certain times of the day, get rid of all of that. And this is where you install what I call rapid achiever habits. What are the things that make the difference? What are the common patterns that high achievers follow that we can model, leverage, implement, embody? So consistency is the only way to create results. So you got to systematize your routines. So as an example, if you went to the gym once, will you instantly be in shape for the rest of your life? Of course not. You got to go regularly, and you got to keep going, because it's not a finite that's done. It's like, okay, to maintain the goal, you got to keep going. It gets easier, of course it does. In the beginning, there's probably a bigger learning curve, more effort involved at the beginning, and it gets easier as you progress. But It's got to be done as a routine so that you do it consistently. So I'll give you an example of routines. Typical Western morning routine for the majority of people who've not consciously defined their routines is to drag yourself out of bed, drink some coffee, nothing wrong with coffee in itself, moan a little bit and commute to work. Maybe not so much of a commute at the moment because obviously, lockdown and everything else, but typically people moan and commute to work. Does that make them greatly productive? Does that improve their performance? Does it increase their performance? Unlikely. But a more productive morning routine would be you start by setting your focus for the day, which could be done the night before or as soon as you wake up in the morning. You may write in your journal to get some ideas out, to get some thoughts out, to get your brain thinking in a different way. Stay away from Facebook, email, news, anything like that. Stay away from the internet completely for the first 20 minutes of the day, because the first 20 minutes matter. Like the science I've seen, the research I've seen shows that how you deal with the first 20 minutes of your day in terms of your mood during that time has an impact on the rest of the day. So if you want that 20 minutes to help you feel great, having a vision in place, one, you wake up excited. So that's a brilliant starting point. Now we've eliminated that problem completely. But then if you then start writing your journal, defining your day, looking back over what you're looking to achieve that day, now that's a productive routine. Can be done in literally the actual activity of it can be done in 5-10 minutes. Then obviously you're just waiting 20 minutes. Maybe you have a glass of water. Like when I first get out of bed, first thing I do is have a couple of large glasses of water, because sleeping dehydrates you. So that's water's the first thing that goes into my body on a daily basis. So again, having a routine that sets you up for a great day. Now this is critical. Are your current routines optimized for your goals? That's the key. So if you don't have routines that are optimized for your goals, you're making it harder to achieve the goal. I'm not saying you're making it impossible. You might stumble across the goal somehow, but you're certainly making it harder. And if you're not making the progress you want, this will make a massive impact. So start looking at it in terms of what are the routines I need in my day, in my week, in my month, in my quarter to enable me to hit my goals, achieve my vision. Okay? And I'll help you define those. So that's routines. Secondly, deadlines. Nothing moves without a deadline. Someday lines are no good. So a random date is useless, or the someday I'll be rich, someday I'll be in shape, someday I'll have a great relationship. Someday never arrives. The busiest day is tomorrow, as the Spanish say. So don't want to miss a deadline. Someday is not in the diary, it's of no use to you. You've got to make deadlines real. And I'm actually just updating one of the modules. I'm creating a new module on deadlines. So you get access to updates for life. Once you bought the program once, there's no additional fees, there's no ongoing anythings. So literally you get all of my insights. So as I develop new ideas and new thoughts and I update the program, you get access to that as well. So it's constantly improving. So make them real. Your future self helps you with that. And one of the questions that I found very useful for me is to ask myself, who's relying on you? So if I think about all the people that rely on me, then that helps me with the deadlines, helps me with my focus. And the third part then is schedule and review. So now we want to actually put things in. So you want to write quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily schedules. So you might be thinking, well, that sounds like a lot of discipline, a lot of work. Becomes a routine, then it takes, as a routine, daily takes minutes, weekly, I probably spend an hour on it. Monthly, I'll spend a morning on it. Quarterly, I'll spend a day on it. And they're fun days. So it's not a chore, it's an opportunity to accelerate everything. And that's how I view it. So great schedules. If you don't, what's going to happen? You'll get distracted. You'll do non-important things. You'll let the obstacles, the gremlins get in the way. You'll repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again. And you end up being busy, but not being productive. So working all the time, but never actually getting anywhere up the mountain. You just end up stuck in a rut if you're not careful. So you need schedules. So I'll give you an example, and I go through all of this in the program, which I know I keep dropping in because I want to encourage you to get it, because it's going to make a massive difference to you. And there's only so much I can help you with in a short amount of time. Therefore, putting stuff together in a course so that I can leverage my time and have an impact on you is really a win-win for everybody. So as an example, I'll look at my goal for the month, I'll look at the quarter, the month, as it's broken down for the month, the week, the day. And then I'm translating that on a weekly basis. I'm going, okay, here's what needs to happen this week. And then I'll say, okay, here's all the things that need to happen this week. Do a review of what are the essential ones, what really needs to happen, what's mission critical, what isn't. And then I start mapping it across to the days. So on a Sunday night, typically I'll do this. So I'll say, okay, Monday I need to do this, Tuesday, so on, so on, and so on. And I've got my week covered. Then on the day, I'll actually schedule it into specific times. But then I've got the week done. So that's my week layout. I know what I'm doing this week to move the needle. Does that make sense? And of course, by writing it down, I can check, is it going to move the needle? If I did this, is the needle going to move? If I did this, the needle's not going to move, then something's wrong. Okay? And you get to see that, because better to see that in advance than to spend the week doing things that were of no use to you whatsoever. Okay? Then you got to review. No map is ever perfect. As I said, sometimes you got to adapt for things that sometimes are obvious, like, you might say, well, I want to start and I want to put all these things in place in my business, and you go, but you haven't got the funds to do that. Then, okay, we need a different strategy. So it could be that the bridge is out and it's like, okay, we need to adapt. We need to move around a little bit. So you need to review. You don't know what obstacles are going to come up when you start. You can anticipate some, but others will come up that you weren't aware of. That's why we need a framework for dealing with obstacles as they arise. And part of that is in the review. So you review, you revise, you refocus. And there's ways I approach all of this. There's questions I ask. There's specific tools I use to help me find solutions. Again, we talk about that. So catch mistakes, stop doing things which don't work, change your approach. One of the things I got from NLP was this idea of the ultimate success formula. So it's very simple in the sense of know what you want, take action, change your approach. In other words, you take action, you get feedback. If you're not getting to where you want to be, do something different, change your approach. So in simple terms, that makes sense. And it's that ability to adapt, but to have a framework so that you do it consistently, deliberately, with discipline is what's going to allow you to achieve your goal. All right, so improve and accelerate. All right, so quick recap then. Take a bit of a stretch, a breath. I've covered a lot of material. I've done this. It's taken a lot longer than I expected it to. So I've hopefully given you more value than I was. I hadn't really got a thought. I just wanted to add value. So hopefully I've given you more than I even I thought was going to happen. So what we've covered, we've talked about vision. How do you want to wake up? What you need to cover in order to have a great vision that covers all aspects of your life so nothing gets neglected. And we touched on the future self and how powerful it is as a behavior change tool and as a way of staying focused on your vision as well. Then obviously from the vision doesn't happen by itself. Now we're into, okay, let's put together a map. Let's find the best route to that vision. The 90-day question we talked about, so we can break the vision down into goals over the next 90 days. Then, of course, we're all human. So it was okay, can we engage emotions? And then thirdly, we then need to develop a strategy. How will you close the gap? Like, what do you need to do? What are the steps you need to take? And in business, what steps you need to take and how you're going to be unique in some way as well. Then once you've got all of that, now you've got to do it. Now it's all on paper. We've got this is the best map we've got so far. Let's get busy. We know we're going to adapt the map. We know it's not going to be perfect. Let's get busy. So how do you take consistent action? How do you move the needle? We talked about having routines, systems, schedules, setting deadlines so that things get done. And by having the schedule, 1, you know what you're doing. 2, you know whether you can see straight away and have an idea of whether it's going to be of benefit to you, whether it's going to work, going to be progressive. And of course, at the end of it, you've got something to measure the feedback against. You can say, okay, we did this, this, and this. We got this feedback. What does that mean moving forward? So we adapt the map. So question, has our time on this masterclass together been well spent? I'm hoping the answer is yes, because I certainly hope my belief is I've dropped a lot of value on you. Obviously, you get to define that for yourself. And really the value will come from, will you implement it or not? So question, could you now see yourself changing your fitness, changing your income, changing the amount of fun you have, making a dent in having a better vision for your life? Again, I'm hoping the answer is yes. And really, be completely open with yourself, because you're not saying this to anyone other than yourself. Would breaking your old behavioral habits make a difference to your life? So changing some of your old habits that are not helping you and installing new behaviors, new actions, new habits that would help you. The answer is going to be yes. I know that even myself, it's like constant refinement to be a better version of me. So now, there's no other better time than now. Like when was the best time to plant a tree 20 years ago? When's the next best time? Now. Because until you do it, nothing changes. So isn't it time you develop the skills which put you in charge of how quickly you arrive at the meaningful goals in your life? In other words, how quickly you get to your vision. And it is a skill set. The number of people I've seen trying to build a business without having the skills to do it. That's why they struggle. You wouldn't expect to step into the mixed martial arts competition without first knowing how to fight. That wouldn't make sense. Yet so many people go into life thinking that they don't need a set of skills. They go into developing a business thinking they don't need a set of skills. Can't do it that way. So develop the skill, which is the most important skill, which is the skill of knowing how to get clear on what you need to do and how to deal with the challenges along the way so that you keep making progress. That is the most important skill. because otherwise you've got all the other skills, but you never actually get to use them. So it's easy to get inspired in the moment. I've given you the roadmap for the big picture overview. Now I want to guide you through it so you can focus on living your goals. So you can turn your vision into your reality. Live it. It shouldn't stay as a dream. It should become your reality. So I call it my Crush It Rapid Achievement System. So it's a Crush It program which allows you to clarify your vision, clarify the goals that matter, dig deep into those emotional drivers so you can find the ones that work for you, leverage consequences so that you can build your focus muscle. Then we're going to translate your vision into 90-day goals, turn those into schedules, set up your routines, and really upgrade your thinking skills so that you can transform your mental, physical, and financial destiny. So I put journaling there as a tool. It's what we do within the framework. The journal itself is just a way to capture everything. So we'll go through all of that. Now, as you can imagine, when you have something this powerful, it doesn't come without a significant investment. I make no apologies for that. I think the kind of people that I want to go through this program are the people that are going to use this program. And as I know from experience, putting a real reflection of the value on the program is what will cause people to take it seriously when they invest in it. So I make no qualms about that because we can agree it's not what it costs you, it's what it gives you in exchange for your investment. This gives you a better business, better life, better fitness. Then is it going to be worth the money? So the reality, if I had a crystal ball which showed you your reality 6 months from now, and you were $50,000 richer than you are today, you'd invest $10,000 with me right now to get there. Because of course, if you absolutely knew, guaranteed, then it's a totally no-brainer investment, isn't it? It isn't about the money, because if you do this, you will make money. So what is it really about? Belief. Belief in whether you're going to use this, whether it's going to work for you. And I mentioned before this concept of self-doubt. It's one of the biggest challenges people face is believing whether something will work for them. So I'm going to suggest put that to one side, because you don't need to decide straight away. You can get in here, get using it, and then if it's not working, which is highly unlikely, then there is no risk. So first of all, let's get the investment out of the way. It's $397 plus VAT if you're in the EU. Real questions are, why is achieving your most important goals in the next 90 days, or what is achieving your most important goals in the next 90 days worth to you? Like if you make a real dent in building momentum towards something of significance to you, what's that worth? Who's this for? If you want to nail your fitness goals, your health goals, your income goals, your business goals, this is for you. If you want to develop more freedom, have a business that gives you more freedom, this is for you, because you're going to face the same challenges. If you want a roadmap which practically guarantees you make real progress towards meaningful goals, this is for you. If you want to be able to not only add multiple income streams, but manage multiple projects, this is for you. If you just want more holidays, more vacations, more fun, more mini retirements, this is for you, more freedom. If you just want to feel more in flow, happier, less stressed, more certain of your capability to design and, if you like, mold your life, then this is for you. Who it's not for, flips that. If you don't want to achieve anything, obviously it's not for you. If you're still looking, even at the end of this, if you stay with me all the way to the end and you're still looking for magic potions and pills, this is not for you. If you're unwilling to do the work, because it's work on a couple of levels, in the sense of you're going to rewire the way you think. You're going to change. Your brain's going to grow because you're going to learn new things, and that's going to change the way you think. It's going to change the way you make decisions, change the actions that you take. All of that can be exhausting in the beginning, mentally. But if you're unwilling to do that, this is not for you. If you don't want to grow, this is not for you. Because ultimately, it's not what you know, it's what you implement which matters. All right, so what makes this unique? Well, I've already mentioned, it's the only system which is designed to build your focus muscle? Build your focus muscle and break disempowering habits so you can implement more at a faster, more accelerated rate. It combines maximizing your performance, your output, through leveraging human psychology. Willpower is very limited, always. There's only so much of it available. Every study shows that. It's modeled from me, the problems I've faced, my self-experimentation, the amount of research I do, and obviously conversations with friends of mine, billionaire entrepreneurs, friend of mine, elite Olympic athletes, where goal achievement matters. So it's all of these things combined, but I recognize it started because I had a problem of consistency. I had a problem with having a framework which allows me to deal with the things that life throws at you so I could get to the goals I wanted in business, in fitness, in relationships, in life. All right, what else are you going to need? Well, first of all, I think information by itself is good, but you're going to want some support in the beginning to build momentum as you change the way you think. So you get 30 days private email with me, so you can Q&A with me anytime. Just send me an email, I'll send you an answer. If necessary, I'll even jump on a Zoom call with you at this point in time, or some kind of call. So we can do that in like short blocks if necessary to deal with things in that 30 days. So obviously what you get, they get the whole of the Crush It program, as I've already mentioned, all the modules in there, all the updates for life as well. So you get access to that forever. There's no kind of limit to how long you have access to the material. It's all there. Plus you get the 30 days Q&A with me. That's free. Why is it free? Because information alone is rarely enough to create a meaningful change in your behavior. I'm all about making sure you get a result. And so if you have a challenge, I'll probably have a solution. And if I can't help it through email, as I said, we'll jump on a quick call and I'll help you that way. You need external feedback sometimes. So you need someone to look at something. Like if you want to share your business strategy with me and you say, okay, look, will this work? I can give you my insights in it based on the results I've achieved online and offline. The email support means you get world-class coaching and mentoring for free during that time. So we work together ultimately. So you've got me in your corner so you can transform your performance, transform your results. Does that all make sense? I hope it does. Look, if all this did was give you clarity on what you want to achieve in the next 90 days to the next decade, would it be worth it? Of course it would. Clarity is going to give you confidence. If it allows you to tap into your deepest emotional driver, so you understand you better. Part of this is understanding yourself, because if you understand yourself, you understand your strengths. If you understand your strengths, you leverage and play to your strengths in everything you do. So you unleash an unstoppable get stuff done at you would be worth it, absolutely. And if it breaks the habits of the past, so you replace them with habits which create results, would it be worth it? Of course it is. One more thing. Full guarantee. It says 21 days, it's actually 30 days. So 30-day guarantee, you'll see that on the order form, it says 30 days. So this is what I mean. Even if you're unsure whether it'll work for you, because you're allowing doubt, self-doubt really, to get in the way, put that to one side, get in here, do this. You got 30 days. Even if on day 30 you say, look, I wasn't happy with it, not a problem. You'll get a full refund. So you are covered, risk-free. So you know what you're getting, you know the price. So question then, how do you want the next 90 days to turn out? Do you want a repeat of the last 90 days, or do you want something different? So if you do nothing, what's going to change? Nothing. You're just going to get exact repeat of the last 90 days. And the other thing to remember, of course, is 90 days is going to pass whatever you decide. Where you'll be in 90 days completely depends on what you do differently and do right. So final thing, as I said, I see the patterns. Most people will put off making a decision. Then they'll regret missing out. And then, of course, they won't get what they want. So final thing, I said this is a question I ask myself regularly. So I'm going to ask you to ask it of yourself regularly. Who's relying on you to raise your game? Life is not an individual sport. It's a team thing. Your family, you are at the center of it. It's part of a team. Who's relying on you? So stop settling, start achieving at your highest levels. So here's where you want to go. strategicrebel.com/special/masterclass. Jump in there. You'll see this order form. You'll notice on the picture here, it's got a one-time offer, which you click it, it adds to this. Don't click it if you buy this in the time, because this offer is going to be available for the next 4 days. If you buy it during that 4 days, I'm going to make sure you get that for free as well. So you get another way of looking at specifically money obstacles. And I know when I first released this a few years back, the impact for people was great. So you'll get that. Don't click it. When you buy this today, you will get that included. I will make sure that's an additional bonus because I'm feeling bonus friendly. So get started now. I'm going to give you a final incentive. I'm going to add another code. So when you go to strategicrebel.com/special/masterclass, this link will work for the next 4 days and it'll expire. The code is automatically applied, so you'll see it take off another $100. Plus, I'm going to give you the bonus of the Dealing with Money Obstacles program, so you'll get all of that as well included. That in itself is worth over $100. So get started, do this. As I say, next 4 days, next 96 hours, this link will be valid and then it'll expire. So go do it. If you need to spend some time thinking about it, just write down the link, copy it down. And then if you decide later today or you decide the next 4 days, then you can still go do it. All right. Hope you enjoyed it. If you got any questions on this, shoot me an email. and I will endeavor to answer it. Otherwise, I will see you in the next live. All right, take it easy.